Welcome everybody to USL Live Season 26, the Week 7 preview show. My name's Eric, I'll be your host this evening, and joining me tonight will be Fausto.
Hello, hello.
Eso.
Hey, it's Eso here.
And Angelus.
Yo, not Eso here.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, can't complain. Alright, man, so we can just jump right into our little Week 6 recap here. The first match of the night was Darkslayers defeating Franco, 51-37. The MVP was Skeletor. Fausto, if you want to talk to us about that match first.
Sure. I didn't play in this match specifically, but I was hearing our comms throughout the whole match. I got here a little bit late, so we had a starting 8. Overall, Typhoon did lead. For those that were wondering, I think, Eric, you alluded to Typhoon leading. He did, in fact, lead. He made some decent calls. Him and I spoke about the match shortly thereafter, and he mentioned he was just kind of hesitant to not put Dark Slayers in the wrong spots. And I think he accomplished that by not putting us in dark spots. I would have loved to have seen a bigger kill differential, but overall we got the win. I think successes on our end, for that matter, was Tyrael just popped off with mortars. I want to say that out of Tyrael's 12 total kills, 7 or 8 of them were mortar kills, and they were effective mortar kills. I think the majority of them were through medics from what I saw. Molo really stepped up and double-digit kills as well. Franco had some shining stars, and I'm going to say Sabotage, no surprise there, but I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Bax had the first 3 kills in that entire match. And it took about, 8-9 minutes before Franco Tiradores broke 3 kills, and they were all due to Bax. So overall, decent game. I think it was closer than what we wanted it to be. But I think the end result was what everybody thought. With Darkslayers winning in a definitive fashion, so to speak.
Okay, Fausto sounded like DP a little bit slurring his words. That dinner really got you going. Eso, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, just going to kind of touch on what Fausto said. I was surprised King, leading everybody as far as kills for that match. So huge shout out to him as Grenader. I think, in my opinion, he's kind of slowly passing up everybody else as far as Nader right now. So it's a good time to turn it on. And then Molo, I'm really happy to see him with 11 kills. Finally have a pretty big, breakout game for him. So that's pretty good there. And then Skeletor, not so much this match, but I think, Darkslayers medding through the weekend, I think really was kind of like their unsung hero, to be honest with you. So it was a really good win for them. I kind of expected it to be a little bit bigger margin, to be honest with you. So shout out to Franco for keeping it pretty close. And then as far as for Franco, Sabotage definitely is going to be their deadliest player. But outside of him, it's like who else is going to step up? No one else really had that great of a game. Flo did go 7-5, but you need your other experienced vets, like Bax and Apollo. You need these guys to step up and do a little bit more to help out.
Yeah, I agree. Angelus, go ahead.
Yeah, these guys touched on most of it. The guys were watching it, and it is true. Bax opened that up 3-0, I think, in the fight that happened just outside what we call the farm area. To us, the match felt a lot like our match against Franco the previous week, where it started a little bit slow, but then by 10 minutes, all hell breaks loose, and Darkslayers really ran away with this one. One of the guys mentioned Tyrael's a monster and Grenader. I would second that. He's definitely the one that I have the most hesitancy in getting anywhere close to, because I can't hit him enough up close to drop him before he drops a nade on my head. So he's playing really well as Nader and flexing around his demo. So I don't know. I actually thought he was leading, but that's just because I don't know what people do. So cool to learn here that Typhoon was leading.
Yeah, no. This match, I agree, was definitely a lot closer than I thought it would be. As Isa already touched on, the meds for DS played very well this past weekend. It would have been nice to see Hop in for Franco. Again, there was some drama there that Hop just decided to log off and not play. I think if he was in the lineup, the score might have been even closer than what it was. You definitely need bigger games from Pandy. Playoff Pandy reared his ugly head that game. And yeah, aside from Sabo, and Bax breaking open or having the only 3 kills in the first portion of the game, you need better play from everybody else around them. But like you guys already touched on, King went 12-4, and I think Molo went 11-6. So big games from them. And good job from Typhoon stepping up to lead in Fausto's absence. So the next match of the night was Cocaine versus MDR. Final score was 61-31, and your MVP and hat winner was Leak. So go ahead, Fausto.
Yeah, so to touch on this match, overall, who I thought was going to win won. Standout player by Leak and Danny, I would say. They were a force to be reckoned with. We were kind of going back and forth in pub chat there. I wasn't commentating on USL Live, but kind of in pub chat as to how effective these two players were, and not only opening up the battles, but sustaining the drives of these battles. I would like to preface this by saying that Macrodata was a little more aggressive this game, which I did like to see, but I will say that while in the past we've kind of discussed that they really don't utilize a solo, in this match, from what I saw, is that they were utilizing a solo, but they were just using it to counter Cocaine's solo angle. They weren't actually using it for an advantageous spot to get an additional angle. And so I would like for Macrodata to work on that. I think they'll be more effective like that, because at the end of the day, it's still very stationary for the most part with a squad like Cocaine and mainly the top 3 squads, right? Or 4 for that matter, in the league, that we're going to move around, right? So you kind of have to adjust on the fly, and that's going to make you more effective. While you do have great players on your squad, and in those being Rio and Hearthball going 8 and 8 apiece, you have to give yourself a better positionally sounding spot to win the battles consistently. There was a couple of times when I think there was 2 battles where you all got the opening kill, but you all just couldn't capitalize because you all weren't in a position to push and to take advantage of it. So feedback for me is just to use that additional angle to surprise the enemy, as opposed to just countering their solo, because they will take advantage of that going further. But overall, I anticipated this victory. I thought it was going to be a closer game, honestly. I thought it was going to be within 1 to 2 battles, but it ended up being 30 points.
Okay, yeah, Iso, go ahead. I know you watched the game on the Hider Troll alias, so what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. Nah, I didn't get a chance to see it, but I'm looking at the score. Pretty good overall, I think. As far as the margin, it's a pretty good win. As far as for Cocaine, and as Fausto was saying, Leak and Danny look like they pretty much popped off with 27 kills between the 2 of them, and only 6 deaths as well. So they, were not only getting the kills, but they were keeping their deaths low, which was very important. And then also for SV, looks like he played AT, which it looks like that might be something he's going to be trying out to kind of counteract some squads in the playoffs. So definitely keeping an eye on that there. And then outside of Rio, really nobody else. Kind of, same story for Franco, is nobody else showed up. Exodus 5 and 10, Chompy 5 and 8, Angelus 4 and 9. Definitely way too many deaths and not enough kills there. So you got to step up and help out Rio. Kind of just play off of him. But you're definitely going to need bigger games, man, especially against these playoff squads, because that many deaths is not going to cut it. But definitely a good win by Cocaine there.
Okay, Angelus?
Yeah, that's a weird game to reflect on, because it really just got away from us after the first 2 or 3 fights. Fausto mentioned we were able to be a little more aggressive, and that was part of the plan. And even like the VOD review after from Spec, and we had these guys surrounded, like very advantageous angles that I'd say like the team in that surrounding angle is going to win 3 out of 4 times. But we just kept losing despite the angles. Like we couldn't execute the finishing blows, and then either I would die, or Chompy would die, or Hearth would die, and then we're just on the back foot after all these fights that we set up to win. So it was a letdown that it got out of hand that much, but I will speak to the map a little bit. Like the map did enable us to at least fight a lot and like find these ways to get more angles. Fausto mentioned like having a solo. I remember one part where I was kind of holding off like Pistor and Mountain. I couldn't tell which one was the solo, but they both kept trying to come over the top of me. And I kept saying like, hey, you have numbers somewhere. We're 3-on-4 up here. And I kept thinking something good's going to happen. But it just goes the opposite way on us, like over and over, where we can identify numbers now, but we can't capitalize on the mismatch. So it was a frustrating game. I thought it'd be closer. Maybe we can still the win. But yeah, congrats to them. They played better. They led better. So it became a blowout very quickly.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, to me, this game kind of looked like you guys were trying to get out of your comfort zone, which is setting up and turtling somewhere. It looked like you guys wanted to try and push. I feel like because of your game against Franco or whatever, the seedings were kind of set in stone. So that you guys could try different things, see how things work, etc. I do one bright spot from your guys' match and kind of a 30-point deficit is that I liked how you played the solo angle better than Chompy did. I thought you had some good pushes, like the flank you had on Caves. I think it was just as Danny was coming around flanking. I think it was Yosh. You had the opposite effect for the other team, and you guys ended up kind of cleaning up that fight. But other than that, I agree with what Fausto, Iso, and you said. You guys had some positions, you just weren't able to capitalize, and experience came through for Cocaine, and they were able to capitalize quicker, and that just led to 61-31. Leo popped off, Danny popped off, and Mountain was a nuisance on AT. Not much you guys can do. So moving on to the next match, it was Franco versus Evo. Franco won 115-38. The MVP was Rom. Foster, go ahead.
Yeah, there's not much to say about this match, unfortunately. I was expecting a way closer match from Evolution. I'm not too sure what the issue is, honestly. Looking at the lineups, obviously, they had Sabotage go 30-3, Pandy, Bax, each with 21 a pop. And then you go down to Evolution, and the highest killer was Draco at 11 kills. Almost went even at 11 and 12. Big ups to him. But nobody else really stepped up on Evolution's part. And I'm not too sure if it's the leading and or the lack of listening. I've gotten feedback from a couple of the players on Evolution, and I think it's more of lack of listening, not really the leading. And I don't know if it's because maybe, from what I gather, and if you really pay attention to how Evolution plays, they get engaged. There's no stalemate. They decide to rush one side, and they all funnel to one side, foregoing the team that's shooting them on the back. And it happens time and time again. And then they never get an official regroup either once the wheels fall off. They just really need to slow it down. I know it's boring, but please try to give yourself an opportunity to win a game. And because it's not fun. It's not fun to watch. It's not fun to play in, and it's not fun to commentate in. And you owe it to your squad to try to at least keep it close within a battle or two at least one time this week. So I'm really hoping they shape up the last couple of weeks of the season. It's unfortunate, but overall, I expected this victory, not by this kind of differential, and I hope that they improve.
Yep, Iso, go ahead.
Yeah, not much more to say as far as this match goes. I did get a chance to watch it. I was just more so surprised at how easy Evolution was giving up angles. They were literally just letting Sabotage push every angle, and it seemed like Franco would just focus off of where Sabotage was, and that was the battle there. They would break it open and then just kind of mop up. So kind of huge shout out to Sabo Pandy, I guess, for popping off. But it is Evo, unfortunately, like we kind of keep harping on, is we wish these guys would kind of step up and give us a little bit better games, because I mean they definitely, I guess maybe they don't, but they should have the talent to do it. Kind of unfortunate, but yeah, I still want to give them a shout out for showing up every week though.
All right, Angelus.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bloodbath. Me and the few guys that were still on watching it, we were just waiting to see how far Sabotage was going to get before he finally dropped. So we were wondering, like, historically in USL, what's the highest someone's got with an Ando deaths? We were thinking, like, is this guy going to 30K the way this game's going at 15 minutes? Or, like, what's going on? So it was sad to see him finally drop and lose the royalty of it. But, yeah, not much to say tactically about this game. It was out of hand right when it started.
Yeah, I know Split's going to jizz his pants when I say this, but I think the highest killer in a single game was Axel with, like, 35 kills or something like that against STL squad. But yeah, this was not a fun game to commentate or watch. The only bright spot all season has been Draco. For Evolution, he has been their only consistent player, and it's just kind of disheartening to see him play on a team like that that's not going to listen to the leader, right? So you guys already touched on everything. So we'll move on to the next match, which was K-Dude versus Dark Slayers. Final score was 20-14. MVP was TG. Go ahead, Fausto.
Yeah, so this was a fun match, so to speak, to play in. I'm not too sure if it was exciting to watch. I doubt it, but overall, I think it was a very close game, kind of how I wanted it to be. Eric, you know how I lead. We've played many seasons together for many years. I think we positioned ourselves very well because at the end of the day, K-Dude just comes from different angles at all times. So my goal here was to counter everything that K-Dude was going to throw at us, and I believe we did so. Now, did people run out of ammo? Yes, I ran out of ammo one time, and Manu had to drop it on the fly. I think it was like the second to last battle. I was very fortunate to see, even though Uni didn't get any kills for us, he was our solo flanker the entire 30 minutes, and he was effective in either giving us vision or getting that additional angle. Tyrael popped off as demo. It was between demo and Nader, and I'm glad he went demo for for a lot of I think the first half of the match. It really set us apart. And I think he got the first 2 kills, also in the first battle. Well, I know we played at our base. I mean, this map, Mountains map, is heavily favors the left side, so we just played to the strengths of the map. That's all we did. We knew that you all were going to push through West Mid, and you all started with a 1-person flank or a solo, and then you started with a 2-man solo or 2 individual solos, and then it was a 3-man. So you all tried different things, and we countered every single time. Unfortunately for us, we had the lead and we gave it up. We had some mistakes, including myself. I died once terribly to, I believe it was Ernie there. And then we had to push you guys. Now, while we did see you guys at farm area, I assumed that you all were moving here and there, but looking at the playback, you all really didn't move. So what I was doing is moving my guys from left of our side, through mid, north mid, east mid, through caves. At one point, I was above C building, and then we turned back around to come to farm area, and that's where the last battle took place. I made the call to try to law you, Eric, at the last battle, and I missed it by, I don't know, maybe an inch. In my head, I thought I was going to hit you. It didn't hit, and TG took advantage of that, and I died first in the last battle. But I will say that I saw you one-on-one, and I beat your ass around Z building, and so that's my highlight of the game. But I really do hope that, all joking aside, that people know that Dark Slayers is looking to win, and while we do play slow sometimes and we do play fast against other squads, our goal is to win every match. You know, I get it. We want to have fun, but we also want to win. And I think we showcase that, we're a top squad. By the way, we played K-Dude, and hopefully we gain some additional respect, maybe that we might have lost in the beginning of the season.
Okay. Iso?
Yeah, I want to say there's definitely some hypocrites on this game that'll commentate, match kind of similar to this, and then they'll hop on the game and play the match the exact same way. For me, it's, Diaz played the way and style that they had to play to keep it close, which is, I mean, in my opinion, what was the right way to play. It was the first 15, I would say, was actually pretty entertaining. There was a lot of posturing, a lot of battles. I know for K-Dude it's kind of tough because pushing that south is hard. Pushing that northwest is tough. So you guys kind of had to just force the action and do what you got to do. For Dark Slayers, definitely King was, those first 3 battles, he was hitting a lot of those RPGs on the medics and taking them down. So he was a huge factor, and I was just kind of surprised at how well he was controlling the battle, especially kind of in that south and Mesa area, around that big rock. As far as K-Dude, Sov was pretty solid. I mean, like I said, there's not much they could kind of do. It felt like towards the end of the game, they're just like, hey, let's just take this win and get out of here, so to speak. But yeah, it's a lot closer than I imagined. I would have thought this would have been like a 30 to 40 point blowout. So huge shout out to Dark Slayers for keeping it close. Like I said, they played the style that they have to play to keep it close, and they did.
Okay. Angelus?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot like the Cocaine versus K-Dude match the previous week, and these guys kind of alluded to it. And I know I'm just in the minority here, and that's fine. But as a new player coming from CTF and watching these matches where it's 30 minutes for 3 team fights, me and the guys just questioning, like, what are we doing? Like, it's just not fun to watch. And I totally understand Fausto's point of view. And Tyrael, actually, he said it quite well in the post game, which he was on for whatever reason. Like, yeah, these guys have probably better open field fighters. We're going to play a slow tactical game and try to catch them. But just like watching these 30-minute matches where the other team is trying to force a coin flip after having 2 team fights, it just feels like a waste of time in a game like this. So I get it. That's just how the zone goes. And I've heard that things get even slower in the playoffs. So none of me and my guys are looking forward to that. But I will credit Fausto too. Like, you're playing to win. You came within, less than one team fight of winning this game and just flipped it at the end. So congrats on getting there. It was cool to see you catch Eric and everything. And I actually like that he called out Uni, because me and my guys were looking at Uni playing that super wide flank at the West Rock area that Tiro called Tiger Paw, I think. And we were thinking like, oh, he's about to get called because it's not just Eric, it's Eric and Sov. But shout out to him for staying like as wide as needed to still be safe and then get back up in. And he actually won that flank cleanup attempt. So that was a little kill spike in the game that happened and we thought was cool. But yeah, these games, man, like these slow ones, we're just not having a good time with them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'll say it again, and maybe I'm one of the people you might be calling a hypocrite. I don't know, but I don't like playing in games like that. I understand it, but it doesn't mean I don't think it's not boring. You know what I mean? I will give a huge shout out to Uni, because as an AT trying to push that far left and him just keeping the range on me, I couldn't do anything. Like, I was completely useless as AT for that top portion. And actually most of the game I was just staring at Uni for probably 20 minutes of that match. I was staring at Uni. Fausto catching me out because I was told Uni was south. I was like, all right, cool. The switch up, and the rat was ambushing me at Z building, as he calls it. And then I switched, one, because they were playing range on me, so AT wasn't going to be effective, and two, everybody was running out of ammo. So I just died. I think the last fight I was AT, I was surrounded by, I think it was Uni, Skeletor, and Shas. So I died there and then switched to Marine so I could drop ammo for a champion, drop ammo for a Colossal, and be able to kind of hold out on that last fight. Other than that, yeah, no, I agree with what Fausto's saying. I agree that it's a viable tactic. I don't discredit that. I just will still always find it boring to play in. But I don't think, even though it was his scoreline, I don't think King was the standout player. This is where Iso's medic comment comes into play, because there was, I want to say it was the first fight, like, I ignored Uni and was crossing Fausto and a medic, and so was Sov from West Mid, and then the guys east should have, the guys east should have been focusing you guys out as well, and managed to keep you alive. So, I mean, shout out to your guys' meds. Had they not played as well as they did, I think we mop up that first fight pretty cleanly, honestly. So they kept you in that game for that last battle.
Hey,
Can I say one more
before
thing?
you move on, yeah, go ahead, Iso. I'll go after Iso.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that that comment was actually for some Dark Slayers players, but also shout out to them. There were a few battles I wanted to touch on, a few battles where they actually had broken open the battle and they let K-Dude get away. There was probably 5 to 6 to 7 kills that they easily should have capitalized on, and they couldn't, and that was the game.
Okay, Angelus, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask from either you or Fausto, because in spec it kept being brought up. Were there camp timers called in the captain's chat that game for both or either side?
So this can, you know what, we'll segue into it because it is one of the mailbag questions I've got.
Okay. Yeah, I have something similar as well, so I don't know if
we could talk about it now since we're already talking about the game. I can't say anything about captain's chat because I was not in it. Fausto, did you guys call camp timer at all?
I told Tyrio to call camp timer, and I assumed he did, but I don't think he did. And in admin chat, after the fact on Discord, one of the players from K-Dude had mentioned that TG didn't see a camp timer being called in the captain's chat. So I want to say that I don't think we officially called one. Now that kind of segues into, what the rules say is, do we really need to call a camp timer for it to be enforced? But
Right.
to answer your question, Angelus, I don't think there was a camp timer called from somebody on Dark Slayers. And if somebody from my squad did, I was not aware of it because, like Eric, I was not in captain's chat myself. But do you have anything on that, Eric? Because I did want to chime into what Iso said.
Yeah. So the question was essentially, should refs be proactive in the enforcement of camp timer? Now, I know as somebody who's refed many games, I am very proactive and looking at both teams. I don't wait for a captain to call camp timer. I personally tell a squad, hey, you have X amount of time to move, and you have to move. I think some refs wait for a captain to call camp timer and then enforce it. So I think there's a lack of consistency within how people ref and how people enforce the rules, and that definitely needs to get fixed for sure. I am of the mind that you should do it the way I do it. Enforce the rule, even if it's not being called out by the captain. Because as one of the people on the opposing team, we were at farms for probably like 8 minutes, somewhere around that range, dropping ammo and just not wanting to push because everybody was at like 70 bullets. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But go ahead, Fausto.
I will also say that I hope Sony from After Dark is here, and please record what Eric just said, that he does acknowledge that they were camping for 8 minutes. So please use that playback over and over again for this next episode.
Oh, Pister's here. You already know he's recording.
Okay. But I will say that I do agree that refs should be proactive, and I spoke about it in the admin Discord chat. But I will also say this, is I believe Staley was a ref, and I love Staley. And I believe he sent a response back to Bowen directly, or somebody else that didn't play in the game directly, about his thought process. And when you get these kind of squads like K-Dude, like the way I lead in Dark Slayers, Cocaine, and we spread out our players throughout the entire map. So it's very difficult to call camping. We don't just ball up and just ambush a corner of a rock. And so while I might have people at what I call boot down south, I might have another group, one underneath East Mid, 3 in East Mid, and then I might be at Purple Building by the right side base. So it's very hard to call a camp timer, because a couple of teams are moving simultaneously. That's the devil's advocate in me there. But yes, I do agree that refs should be proactive. To Iso's point, I do agree, Iso, and I brought it up to my squad, and we all kind of talked. We all agree that we were getting a lot of opening kills against K-Dude, and we weren't cleaning up. When I killed Eric at Z Building, we did not get one further kill in that battle. And I called the push to East. And since I was at Z Building, I couldn't see my team by north of Boot. So I didn't know which way they were pushing. So it's hard for me to direct my guys to either push to South Mid, where Ron and company were falling back, or push right to farm area. And so that happened twice. Which is, unfortunately, that's just a reality of things. But I do agree that we started off strong in many, many battles, picking one or two off, and we just couldn't capitalize, and that's something we are going to need to work on if we want to be a contender in the playoffs.
I will say and then we can move on to the other portion of the show. I will say that as soon as I realized you were shooting me, because you ambushed me, you rat, I said, hey, I got ambushed. And then Sov made the call to fall immediately because I knew I was dead. Because I think you hit like 4 bullets before I even turned to shoot you. So
okay, Eric.
Yeah,
okay, Eric.
yeah.
But look at what Ernie said in spec chat. I ran away 3v1 and nobody shot at him. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's perception. And so we know as a squad, we talk about it. We do analysis after the fact, and we know where our opportunities are. So hopefully that doesn't happen again going forward. But good analysis there, Issa, because I do agree with you there.
I think that's where you need to be with the main team, because if it was Uni ambushing me and he got that kill, I guarantee you're making the call and pushing and shooting the people that are falling and focusing that fire. So I don't know if nobody called it out on Ernie or what, because I did see the replay of that, and by the time people actually started focusing him, he was already on the road and getting a heal.
I don't disagree with you.
All right, moving on to the next portion, we have our top 3 players of the week. My list is, I've got Leek, I've got Samara, and I've got King. King went 12-4 against Franco? No. Yeah. And then 6-3 against us. And then Leo, of course, popped off, and so did Samara. Who you got, Fausto?
My top 3 are going to be King, Leak, and Sabotage. So I think one different than yours. King, obviously, Mortars on point for Evolution. Just battle opener, and then battle opener for the first 20 minutes for against K-Dude as demo. Just consistently played very well on Sunday. Leak, I mean, there's nothing further to say. We talked about it. He just won a cap and won the game almost single-handedly. If it wasn't for Danny there and squad there against the opposing team. Sabotage went 30 kills versus Evolution, and then did 8 versus Dark Slayers, and that was in a loss. So I think Sabotage has been playing consistently. I think his squad relies on him heavily, almost like a legacy at Macrodata. Because when Sabotage is on, he's on. So those are my top 3.
Okay, Issa?
Yeah, mine will be a little similar. Definitely Leak, a big game versus MR. King as well, pretty big game. And then actually in the same match, I'm going to give it to Skeletor as a medic. Like I said, I don't know what it was. That's the best I've ever seen him med. Probably his best weekend ever. But huge shout out to him.
All right, Angelus?
Yeah, I think mine's the same as yours was, Eric. I had Leak, Danny, and King. I think Leak remembered when Grump was on here talking about our first week. Leak got dropped by Angelus because he came out in the rematch and just beat the hell out of us. So shame on Grump for giving him poster board material for the locker room, but yeah, he cashed in on that. And the other two, they were dominant as well. Danny mentioned in the post game, like he was stopping me the whole game, and maybe I was stopping him too, but I just couldn't get around him like I could some people in SPs leading up to that.
All right, fair enough. All right, leading into Week 7's preview, our first match of the night is going to be MDR versus Evo. I've got nothing to say on this. The way Evo's been playing, MDR should sweep away this win. Fausto, you got anything?
No, not really. I time and time again I keep harping on Evolution, but honestly it's constructive criticism. I just wish I would listen to it. It's not trying to throw them under the bus or talk trash. I really want them to get a win because players like Draco deserve to win at least one game this season. Unfortunately, I think Macrodata's going to take it. I think it's going to be. I think they're really going to push here and maybe utilize those additional angles that we talk about week in and week out. The score's going to be probably 72 to like 21 in favor of Macrodata, and Legacy's going to pop off.
All right, Issa?
Yeah, not much else to add to that other than definitely a win for MR. It's going to push them to 5-4. Unfortunately for Evo, it'll be 0-9 for them after this match. But yeah, it should be pretty easy. I actually see MR putting in kind of some of the players they don't usually put in. So maybe not as big of a margin win-wise, but still by like 60 to 70. So it'll be a pretty good size win.
Okay, Angelus?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just starting off hoping we can get 8 people to log in on Sunday. The lack of interest that's come up ever since we kind of closed out the 4 seed with Franco has just ravaged the squad. So I mixed up with people who aren't having fun anymore. They moved on to other things, and then some of our more veteran players don't want to play in these games against Evo. So it should be a depth-looking game where some of these guys get to come back in. There's nothing really for us to play for at this point. So whoever shows up, I'll get them in. They can play. Just hoping we can get 8 people on for Sunday.
Okay. Moving on to the next match of the night, probably the match of the week. It will be Dark Slayers versus Cocaine. Last time, DS failed to close out that equalizing kill to force OT on Kevin there, who was like running at you guys along that north wall on Chaos 10. This will be at 10:15. Fausto, what you got?
I'm excited for this match. I know we're playing in UD. We've tried a squad battle here and there. We squad battled a little bit yesterday. I mean, honestly, during the week, the only 2 squads at SB that I've seen is really just us and Cocaine. I mean, we go kind of head-to-head all night, almost 7 days a week. I'm going to kind of do, I don't know. You know what? I think since Isso's on here, I'm going to push just straight down the middle. I'm not going to get any angles at all. We're going to bunch up into a ball and just push in. And that's all we're going to do, Isso, just so you know. But no, all joking aside, we're going to play it smart like we always do. I'm going to anticipate on this map Cocaine to send 2 solo angles, more than likely, with Mountain and an additional player. And we're going to have to play to counter that, as well as trying to take an advantage. We're going to utilize a couple of support classes. We're toying with a few here. But I'm going to just lean on my guys to make the right decisions. And honestly, I think our medics are stepping up. Hopefully Kaga shows. I believe he may not, but if he's not here, I would like somebody like Bro to come back. He didn't play last week, but I am going to need some battle openers. Players to watch for me, I'm going to rely on Skeletor, aka Abyth, and Molo. We've seen what King can do, what Typhoon can do in the past, and so I want to see if Molo continues his reign. He had a great weekend last past weekend. I'm going to rely on somebody like him. For Cocaine, I'm going to watch out for players like Iso. If he shows Mountain and now Leak, I know that pitcher's going to put Cocaine in a very good position, advantageous position, but I am going to be looking out for some ambushes as well. I think the score is going to be similar to the last go round, just for the sake of a little bit of excitement. I'm going to give it to us on this one in a last minute push, and we're going to win by 2 kills.
Okay, Isa, what you got?
Yeah, I see it a little different. I think the side is going to play a major factor in the match as far as Cocaine is. I believe they have the side choice on UD. UD is one of my favorite maps. It's definitely going to be more of a fast-paced match, even though Dark Slayers may try and slow it down. That's why I kind of love UDs. You're still going to see action. You're still going to see quite a few battles. I think in the end, Cocaine's actually going to take it by a bigger margin than for sure the last match was. I don't know how close it was. I think that was like one
Yeah, it was
kill or
one kill.
OT, but okay, gotcha. So yeah, but this is definitely, I think it's going to be like a 10 to 15 kill win for Cocaine. As far as players to watch out for, I'm hoping Leek and Danny show up again. I think they're going to kind of continue what they did last week. And then I actually am looking at SV. I kind of touched on it earlier. I think that AT is something that Cocaine needs to have. We definitely need to start switching classes if we want to start competing against K-Dude. So that's one of the ones there. And then we'll see if Kevin Marines or what he decides to do. As far as for Dark Slayers, I think King is going to keep doing what he's doing, as Fausto had mentioned. And then Skeletor, we kind of touched on it a bit. With Skeletor and either Manu or Havoc, you should have pretty good medics there to keep you guys alive. Keep it close, but yeah, in the end, I definitely see Cocaine winning this by 10 to 15.
Okay, Angelus?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to who shows for both squads. I was just revisiting the box score from the first one. Looks like Iso wasn't in the match. I don't know if he was there or not. But like if Cocaine shows their best 8 players, which still a question, what is their best 8 players since Mecha joined? No one knows yet. If they show their best 8, I think they take it. If there's some slip, maybe Iso's not there or something, I think Dark Slayers gets their revenge this game. I would expect Dark Slayers can show their best 8 because it is a big game for them. They can kind of end all the controversy on seeding if they can take this game. So yeah, I'll say if Cocaine shows their absolute best lineup, they can take it. But otherwise, I'll take the upset pick with Dark Slayers here. Squeak it out by like 3 kills.
Okay. This is a game I'd like to see Tyrael revisit Demo. I think Demo and AT are the best classes on UD. As, you know, Iso knows, like, that's all we ran on. I think it was Low Life Thugs and Over 9,000, whatever the 2 squads we played on the map with. It's just very good. Both those classes are very good on this map. And with SV practicing it on Cocaine's side, maybe Mecha plays Demo for Cocaine, and Kevin may stay Nader, or he may play Marine. I think a Nader and a Demo on that south choke, you guys aren't going to be able to push that. You're going to have to find a different angle. I think that you could possibly even have Typhoon play Demo and Tyrael stay Nader, or switch to AT, because I know he's been toying with it as well. So it'll be interesting to see the class choices. It'll be interesting to see if Kaga shows, if Manu shows. If everybody's top 8 show, I still give the advantage to Cocaine. I think they just have the advantage in terms of killing power. I think it'll still be not as close as the last game, but I think Cocaine will end up winning by 1 battle. So probably something like 36 to 30 or 36 to 29, somewhere in that range. So then for the last match of the night, we have K-Dude versus Franco at 11. Go ahead, Fausto.
Yeah, I don't see this one being close at all. I think the morale factor in Franco Tiradores is kind of low right now, especially with that whole drama with Hop, which was one of their veteran players, leaders, and overall, good dude. I see just K-Dude just, without causing any controversy, breaking 100 kills here. That's what I really think is going to happen, mainly because it's a small map, very fast-paced, and just pedal to the metal. I, I really see the score being somewhere like 105 to like 28. I don't think it's going to be fun to watch or fun to commentate on. I'd like to be wrong in this. I just don't think that's going to happen personally.
Yeah, that's fair. Iso?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Fausto there. I don't think this match is going to be very close. Franco definitely has the players to keep it close. I just think they're definitely going to fall apart. I'm not sure what the drama was with Hop, but it seems like Bax, there's always an issue with this guy every single week. I'm not sure what it is. It's just, honestly, he's super annoying. A lot of these guys are probably going to end up leaving this squad after this season, but yeah, I just wish there was somebody else leading that squad because there's always some sort of drama, and they're sitting at 2-6, and we were talking about how this is Bax's best squad he's ever assembled, and they're 2-6. So yeah, big win by K Dude here by probably 30 to 40.
Okay, Angelus?
Yeah, I think it's going to look a lot like our match with Kadu did last week or the week before that. Hopefully, they can get their first kill before they get to 30 deaths, whereas we couldn't. But yeah, I think Kadu takes this one by 70 or 80 kills, and they're just going to run it down Franco's throats, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if K-Dude gets on the SB at all this week. But even still, this is most of our favorite map, and we know it like the back of our hand. So I expect us to have a slow start, but after that slow start, I think we pull away with it. I won't say 100 plus kills, but I'll say we probably win by something around like 60. That's all I got for the matches. Anybody else want to touch up on anything else before we jump in the mailbag?
Nope.
All right. Well, first question, we already know what it is. This was sent by Splitta via Spec Chat. Why does Eric deserve...
Can I ask it?
Yeah.
Can I ask it at least?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Why does Eric deserve to be starting for K-Dude outside of him being soft suckling? Man went -3 games while being on the most stacked roster in history.
Fair. I mean, honestly, after week 1, I said I probably would be benched if Champ and Naj showed. But I know against you guys, we barely even showed 8. Like, at the very beginning, we had Asen, we had Ronin, we had Revengean. And then I forget who logged in to take Ace's spot. And then Chris logged in late. But yeah, I don't know. If I play like that, I'd bench myself. Anybody else got anything on that one?
I was just going to say, Eric would be the first one to tell you if he's having a bad game. So I feel like in my opinion, everybody has a bad game. So it is what it is.
Now, I will say, as a kind of rebuttal to the Darkslayers game, I think it was literally just me and Uni staring at each other. And that last death was a troll one just running at Tyrael.
I mean, and that's what you're going to get. I mean, those kind of games, you're going to get them when it's you're competing against another good squad, right? I mean, it's, people think that, because they're two, and I'm not going to, fluff us up and say powerhouse squad, but when you have two powerhouse squads facing each other, people think it's going to be, 80 to 75, end game scores, but really it's going to be this, because everybody plays smart, everybody positions themselves and yada, 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 and it's all about counter. It's all about movement. It's little chess pieces here and there. While it's not fun to actually watch and spectate and commentate on, I mean, this is what happens, and one small mistake, another good player takes advantage of that. There's some games that Eric can pop off and go 20-3 or 0-3, and shit, that happens to me too. So, I mean, I get it. I would like Eric. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, what do you think it is for your last 3 games to be negative? You think it's positionally because you're kind of soloing? Because I've kind of seen you like in main and solo, so I'm not. I mean, what do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. The first week was lack of activity, and surprisingly enough, I was AT those games too. And this past week was also lack of activity. We weren't SBing, we were cold, and I was on AT, and I was stuck in that far left staring at Uni. You know what I mean? So it's a combination, man. I think the more reps, which is unfortunate, and I think it has to do with the map that was up and pub just being boring, that, I mean, this kind of ties into another mailbag question, but nobody wanted to get on the SB. And I honestly think that the only times K-Dude has SB'd, and I think it was me staying on late and coordinating with Angelus, saying, hey, we'll SB you. Hey, SV will PM me. I say, yeah, let me tag the nerds to get on, and it takes them 10 minutes like Splitta to get on an SB. So I think those are literally the only times we've SB'd all season. So it's a little annoying for me, but at the same time, I've got other games to play too. So it's not the worst in the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, which kind of it's a good point to bring up. Players like Iron have SB'd with Dark Slayers more than in his own squad. You know what I mean? The season during the week, and that's not a knock on his squad, but we just because we have newer players compared to like the K Dude roster.
It should be a knock on our squad, dude. Like,
but we see, what, if we can get 6 of our guys in and 2 NTs, shit, let's do it. You know what I mean? Because my guys they like to get those reps in, and that's why whenever we came to should we appeal this match and yada yada yada, one of my guys said, you know what, let's just appeal it just to get an additional rep in with one of the top squads. Because people play different on match games versus during the week. We obviously denied the appeal. We didn't forego that. We forgoed that appeal. But that's kind of the mentality with Dark Slayers, and I think you do see an improvement. I mean, because we all know that I've been inactive, in past seasons, and this season I'm more active than prior, and it does make a difference, to your point. I wish you all would SB more, because it would make squads like us, Macro Data, shit, even Cocaine, Franco, and Evo better if we're SBing you guys,
Nah, I hear you. Wow. Ernie, it shouldn't be on me to find every SB, dude. That's all
Inter
I'm
squad
saying.
drama pisser, you hear that? Inter squad drama pisser, do you hear that?
All right. Since you read that one, I'll go ahead and read my next one. That was actually the only troll one I have, kind of. So the next one is going off of how TG acted last night and what he was saying about the way squads play. Because DS is not the only squad that plays like that, why does USL still rely so heavily on Team Deathmatch as the core mode, even though it consistently encouraged camping, especially around the dropship? Over the years, the issue has only gotten worse. They've adjusted rules repeatedly to try and curb it, but it's clear they haven't solved the problem. As matches become more competitive, the gameplay has become increasingly passive. So why not shift toward an objective-based mode, like flags, aka SL, to promote more active and strategic play? A few well-placed flags with long capture times could eliminate the need for camping rules entirely.
I mean, that's a loaded question. I mean, I do agree with the question. We need to figure out a way to prevent camping. But I do want to preface that by saying that there's a difference between camping and posturing. And I think a lot of the top squads posture, more so than camp. I think we can all decipher when somebody's blatantly camping. I would also say that in the past, I don't know, maybe 2 seasons, I feel like it's been more competitive, especially the playoffs have been more competitive in terms of how matches start and end between kills versus deaths. And then you got obviously your bottom tier squads. Would I like to add a flag? I'd probably add maybe 1 flag. Middle ground between SL and USL, just to get some sort of traction and movement. But all it's going to do is the top squads are going to send their solo guy to have a solo one-on-one battle to that flag. I mean, let's be real here, right? I don't know what the answer is to the camping. Some people utilize it. I wish Evolution camped a little more, personally, to make it to be more competitive. But if there's people have ideas, actual positive ideas, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, so mine was kind of similar to what Ernie just typed in chat. He's saying he brought up an idea of adding a static flag to the middle of the map that awards a kill every so often. My idea was a static flag in a central location that it wouldn't award a kill, but whoever had the longest capture time of said flag by the end of the match would end up winning. Just to answer the basis of that question, if we were to try and implement anything like that, that would have been one of my ideas. Other than that, I mean, we kind of already had the league like that in SL, and it was obviously killed, right? Because it became boring. I think, you know, as much as I say it's boring to play in, camping is a viable strategy, especially against like the top tier squads. I don't harp on that, but I do agree that it has gotten bad, because camping is whatever. We're used to seeing camping in rocks, etc. But what we haven't seen like we have in the last 2-3 seasons are people literally camping right outside their baselines, and that's the big issue right now. It's not that they're camping; it's where they're camping, and I think what has to happen are baselines have to be redrawn, and the baseline rules slash adjustments that need to happen will happen this offseason, depending on what staff decides to relay to the captains as the choices we've come up with. But I mean, that's all I got. ESO, Angelus, you guys got anything?
I was going to say, I mean, it would be interesting to have some sort of objective-based type of game. I think it would be a little different from SL just because those 3 deaths is what really made people passive when you're playing SL. So it would be interesting to have that switch up to where it's going to be more so kills, and so with that objective of a flag of some sorts, maybe it would help the game out. But we wouldn't know until we try it. So maybe give it a shot and see what happens.
Okay, Angelus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about the history to say if a flag is the answer. I just agree with the theme that something should be done, like for the betterment and enjoyment of the game, both playing and watching. Because I know from like our limited personal experience, we've been called on camp timer before by the ref. I don't think the captain called it, and we're like, I don't even know what this means. And it's like, oh, you've got to move. Your players are standing still too much. But then Fausto's coming out. He'll say something like, oh, we're posturing. So one of our 8 people's moving a little. The other 8, we're rotating positions. I just don't think it's enough to move the game at a fast enough pace to be more fun, more competitive. I don't know what the solution is, but I think it should be looked at in the off season, like try to make it better.
Okay. Fausto, you got any other questions?
Yes, I do. I have let me see here. I'm see if there's any that are not trolley, because I think they're all. No, there's a couple of non-trolley. I guess I get the trolley ones out of the way. Considering TG was undeniably camping on Sunday while a self-appointed pusher, LOL, why his squad held the same 2 coordinates for over 6 minutes? Was the referee sleeping on the job or scared to challenge TG/tactical?
I mean, I think we kind of already went over it a little bit in our recap of that, but I go back to saying that refs should definitely be more proactive in calling camp timer. They should not wait for a captain's request, and that's all I got on that one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't know if Iso and Angelus have anything there.
Nah, nothing on my end.
No, nothing else.
I agree with Ernie. I'm all for an appeal.
Eric, I have 1, 2, 3 more questions total.
I also only have 3. Iso, you
Okay.
got any?
I got 2.
All right, go ahead.
All
right, let me go ahead. So another open map, another mortar going long. At this point, we need to ask what Kevin has on Pister. The squad has to play down 7 versus 8, knowing Kevin will not contribute. My question is, who on cocaine should get MVP considering they're playing down 1 every game?
I mean,
Wait. Sorry, read the question again. Read the question again, real quick.
I got you. Hold on. So it says another open map, another mortar going long. At this point, we need to ask what Kevin has on Pister. This squad has to play down 7 versus 8, knowing Kevin will not contribute. My question is, who on cocaine should get MVP, considering they play down 1 every game?
So just without saying a name, did the same person that asked the question last week of Kevin ask this one? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been watching Kevin play Nader here and there, and I feel like his mortars have been off a little bit. the last week or two. I'm not too sure why. I don't know if it's a map or I'm not sure. He used to be a little more effective. But with that being said, I think he can play Marine just fine. I'm not sure what he has on Pister if he starts or not, but I mean they're buddies, so I'm assuming that also helps. Now, I'd probably, I mean, if you're asking me if I would have him in my starting, lineup, I'm gonna refrain from answering that question. But I know he does bring value to the squad, and he is a vocal player.
I think Leo made a very good argument to take a starting spot back, and I think that if Kevin isn't on his game, I think Leo should be in that starting lineup. That's just my take. I think if for whatever reason, like Kevin can start the game, sure, but if he is not hitting his mortars or if he's not being effective, Leo needs to get subbed in for him. Also, I'm pretty sure he's got some juicy shit on Pister, which is why he continues to start.
So you wouldn't start him?
No. On UD, I would. Okay. Just because UD is a good map for him as a nader. Okay. But in open maps, no. Anybody else got anything on that one?
Yeah, I would just add, I think a lot of people have short-term memory. Like, I guess he had a bad game at some point, I don't know, but 2 weeks ago he had a quadra kill, and he was rank 1 in the game, so I don't know, I thought his nader's pretty effective most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said if he's having an off game, he should get subbed out. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the answer for everybody who has an off game. You know what I mean? But, Angelus, you said you had a question?
Yeah, I just have one this week. I think we had this one like week 1 and it's back again. Should nader be considered for a nerf in the off season? And if so, what would you recommend?
I think that the mortar itself should be a dot instead of a one-hit kill. Personally. I think that's the only nerf you would look at. Almost like a napalm type mortar, which I know Tyrael was testing. Yes, exactly, like Mecca said, because I believe Tyrael had it in test when he was deving for class changes, and we were looking at it, but it was super overpowered at the time because the dot was still a one-hit kill. But I think that would be an interesting thing to do. Anybody else got anything on that one?
The only thing I was going to say is maybe the radius of the explosion itself. Because I know I've timed it up where I could throw an incendiate and the mortar hits at the same time, and it takes up a really big radius with those two. So maybe taking a look at that.
I think the radius is also very inconsistent. Like if you look at the slob emoji in spec chat, like he's not even close to where it landed, and he still died to it. So I think there's some interesting dynamics going, and that could be a server issue, kind of like how we see, look, like exactly what Ernie just posted. So like it exploded there, and Slob is dead, like kind of half a chord down from it. Like it's not even close. So there's definitely something off with it that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and if you guys want to see the picture is in spec chat right now.
MP, please, whoever's recording this, please post that on the YouTube as Eric is talking about that.
All right. My next question is, and I kind of brushed up on it a little bit. Why is there such a dip in activity for USL this close to playoffs? Is it the map or is it other games?
I think it's other games. And like for me personally, this is the only game that I play. I don't play any other games at all, so that's why I log into this game. But I know that other people, including my squad, do like raids and stuff. So I'm gonna say that's what it is. I feel like most people are just on another game and just avoiding playing infantry for whatever reason. Maybe they just think they're good enough to not to log in. But but I'm not too sure. But to answer the question, I'm going to say they're just playing other games with fellow infantry players.
I'll say that this happens every USL season. Every single season, there's a dip in activity, kind of past the halfway point, and then it ramps back up the week before playoffs. But it is, like I said earlier, a combination of just other games and, quite frankly, the maps that are up. I know, again, for K-Dude, we did not like playing on Mountain's map at all. So none of us really wanted to SB on it. ESO, Angelus, you guys got anything?
Just that, as Eric mentioned, it's kind of every season this happens. Pretty much, kind of when it gets close towards playoffs. I think with UD being up and playoffs being here in a few weeks, you'll see that activity kind of rise. I'm especially hoping for MR and some of these other squads' sake. But yeah, I think you'll see that come back.
Yeah. I think my squad's kind of a unique case. It's a mixed bag. It's other games, it's other zones even, like CTF's coming back. So I got 3 or 4 people playing CTF every night. They just rather play that, and to me that's fine. I kind of mentioned in Captain's Chat when we signed up, we didn't realize how long the league was during sign up. We thought it was 4 weeks in playoffs, and we kind of burned out on that same fuse where I've got 16 people on the roster. Only 5 of us actively want to log in and keep SBing after playing 53 SBs the first 4 weeks. So we're just kind of burning out at this point. I don't think it's the map's fault. I'd love to join the meme and play Mountain or something, but a lot of us like the speed of the map. Sure, the flowers pissed us off, but it was fun to play a small map and get aggressive. But it's a lot of other stuff. There's real life that comes in. The whole seeding implication, I think that's a lot for my guys. Like, we were competing, and once we kind of beat Franco that second time, we know what our seed's going to be. It's like we don't want to put all this time in when we're just waiting for playoffs at this point. Just like you'd see in a regular season of a competitive sport, like when we're not chasing something actively, the drive just goes away. So yeah, we went from, I think, the most active squad the first month to barely able to get 6 people online every night. But new squad, bunch of new people, and some of the veterans are going through the same thing on our squad. So I guess it's just kind of the norm in USL. Once seeding's determined, like, it's not as fun to SB. I don't know.
Okay. Fausto, you got another question?
Okay. Yes. During the DS versus Franco match, King landed a clutch double kill mortar on Pandy and Stav. Right after the play, Exodus, an RR user, began heckling in spec chat, with RR users sarcastically saying, "It just takes an immense amount of skill to fire that weapon. Not everybody can press a button from 1.5 screens away." Was this an ignorant take by CTFers who have likely never inspected the nadir, or is mortar genuinely that easy to use regarding no skill?
I look at mortar as the same as getting a law snipe. I think it's relatively the same distance, and I do believe that laws are more skillful to hit than a mortar, just because mortar's got such a big radius. But it does take a little bit of skill to hit mortars.
With that being said, I think, Eric, that it does take some skill, but I think it depends on what the opposition, the enemy, is doing. Because if they're engaged in a battle, you're more than likely able to get a mortar kill because their focus is on the player in front of them, not the mortar coming their way. But if it's just a stalemate, and you're just kind of looking at each other, chances are you won't get that mortar kill because the enemy's going to be anticipating that shot coming from out of nowhere.
No, I agree. ESO, Angelus?
Nothing on my end.
I mean, I mentioned earlier, as far as I can tell, I think Tyrell's the best nader in the zone. So while I do think it's funny, and there's like the poor slob meme where it gets blown up from forever away, I think there is some art to the madness that gets these mortar kills. So yeah, it's annoying sometimes to see a fight blow up to it, but only one person's doing it. So, shout out to him, I guess.
I will agree with what Mecca said, especially if a team is falling, it's very predictable, especially if they're clumped up to get those like quad kills or double kills, etc. So yeah. My next question, kind of a trolly one. Should we add War Machine to USL? Anybody?
I haven't even got a chance to play War Machine or whatever it is, so I have no idea.
I got repowered by MP on a different zone, so I'm not going to say anything. No, I haven't played the class. I'm not going to say too much about it.
I'll say in its current iteration, no. It is really busted. The way I look at the main gun for it, it reminds me of a better runner gunner that Ripper used to have to be able to shoot and move. I think it's just as strong as Ripper, but able to push. So I don't know. I think the damage needs to be nerfed. I think that the fire rate probably needs to be nerfed. But I don't think it is USL ready, or even should be in USL. I actually look at it more of like, this would be a cool event class to have. Like back in the day in SOE, we used to have like mod weapon events, etc., etc. I think certain classes that get added to pub should be solely for events that happen. Fausto or Iso, you got any other questions or no?
I think I have one more. 1 second.
Go.
Well, I got one, but it already kind of covers what we talked about earlier, so I'll skip it. It was more like it was asking like Eric and the AT, the past match, but we kind of already talked about that.
Okay. Fausto, what you got?
Yeah, this one's to Angelus directly. Based on you and your squad's experience thus far in the season, do you guys see yourself returning in one form or another for next season?
So I've got this question offline from a few people, and I don't think it's much of a secret because I'm openly talking about it. I don't think I'll have a squad back. I think like some of us that came over for the first time, we would be interested in playing in a few months, but I don't think I'll be heading a squad or one of us will be heading a squad and recruiting each other. We'll probably just trickle up and join other squads if a few of us want to play. And it comes from, the conflicts of who's available on Sundays and then the burnout I mentioned. I think we have something like maybe 10 new players, maybe it's less, maybe it's like 8. And maybe 4 of us have really taken a liking to it and will want to play again. So some of us will be back, but it won't be as a squad like this.
Unfortunate, but I get it. I mean, that's kind of how I feel with PL, right? Like, it was fun for a little bit, and then it's just like, it's not my thing. So, I got it. Fausto?
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of unfortunate. We'd love to see you guys come back. It's always good to get a new perspective and new players in the league, but with that being said, my last mailbag question is, what fun ideas can the panel come up with for a hat giveaway? Which game this weekend should feature a hat giveaway?
The cocaine and DS game, 100%.
Yeah,
that's the match of the
for
week.
sure.
Do you leave it to the commentators, though, Eric, or to other people?
As to who gets a hat?
Correct.
I think it should be kind of what we did this past week. I think the commentators, it doesn't have to be who the captain chooses as the MVP, but I think the commentators who are looking at it, maybe they can get input from Spec Chat, and kind of vote from that. Maybe get Spec Chat involved and say, hey, we'll look at the top 2 names being listed off, and then we'll go from there. Do a Discord live vote. Could possibly do that.
Well, it's not a bad idea. Like the question asks, what fun ideas can the panel come up with? Like, so we can come up with ideas. Maybe like Kevin said, a Discord live vote, or maybe a dueling tournament or a 3v3 tournament. Maybe just to get people engaged again. There is a dip in activity. I think we're all kind of ears. I think it was a cool little thing that Fly Molo did from his own money. So appreciate that and respect that. And I think it's just an added bonus for those playing well in our game.
I know you're gonna spike Champions activity because he still hasn't gotten a hat from Dave, so he's definitely eager to get an Infantry Online hat. So shout out to Molo for making those. But yeah, we'll definitely have to look into it more, especially as one of the people mainly commentating. I'll definitely look into what we could possibly do. But that's all I got for questions. Fausto, you're out. Iso, you're out. Angelus, you're out.
Yep.
You have nothing on my end.
All right. Well, that wraps up USL Live Season 26, the Week 7 preview. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Have a good night.